In this video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to beat opponents in 2024 and maybe even destroy them by a couple of moves. So folks, these are the top 5 openings that I'm gonna show you today. And so folks, let's start with the first opening. D4, E5, England Gambit. But we're not gonna do the standard way because that is going to lose us. And so folks, that's a free pawn for them. And the most popular response is for them to take that on 2024. We will go bishop to F5, try to develop. And not only that, if we go bishop to F5, there might be a potential sacrifice later on. And so, if they go and develop with their knight on F3, we will go pawn to D6, Gambit another pawn. This is a free pawn. And so folks, if they take another pawn, there is another pawn for them. And so if they take, likely tempted to do so, we are gonna go and sacrifice the knight on E7. Why are we gonna do this? Because if they take the knight, and they will most likely will, we will go and check them with the bishop, sacrificing our bishop. And if they take our bishop, we will win the game because we already take their queen. Not only that, we already breached in. And also their king is not castled yet. And not to mention, we're gonna castle here if this pawn wasn't here. And we're just gonna capture it anyway in the future. So this is what makes this opening so effective. You don't even need to sacrifice the knight. Turns out, you can actually just let it go there. And just, if we go here, well then folks, if they take this, the same thing. Because we can check them, they have no option to go here because of the queen. And so, the only option they have is to take the bishop. And so we'll take the queen on D1. Well, of course, not only that, we can even go here with the bishop. So there's a lot of options, a lot of ways we can sacrifice here. So this is an aggressive opening right now on 2024, the right moment to use this opening because a lot of people actually fall for this. Next opening, folks, is top 4. E4, E5, and we get the aggressive lines. The most popular played line and the most common response. So folks, we are gonna go knight to F3, developing the knight. They will go knight to F6 most likely because we are attacking their pawn. We're gonna go bishop to C4, attacking the pawn on F7. Not only that, challenging the pawn on E5. There are so many threats. But if they go pawn F5, attacking our pawn on F2, well then folks, there's an insane trap for them. Because pawn to B4 is a pawn sacrifice. And we can still get the same development as our opponent. But with this sacrifice, it turns that everything will change from here. Because if they take the free pawn, we will go pawn to F4, F3, pushing this pawn, attacking this bishop. And so folks, they have options. They might go here or here, these two squares. First, they might go here. We're gonna go D4. If they take our pawn on D4, which they most likely will, we will take back and we get this big fat center. But folks, what if they don't do that? What if they go D6? Trying to solidify their own pawn on E5. Well then folks, we're gonna go queen to E3, trying to go here aggressively on F7, which is insane because a lot of people will go wrong out here. Because after knight to A5, tempting move to try to attack the queen and the bishop. We're gonna leave this queen out here and check them. And so if they go here, this is mate in 2. Because after knight takes E5, ridiculous sacrifice, they will take. This is mate. And so folks, what if they don't do that, but instead go here? We will go queen to A4. Because even then, about that trade, they cannot castle and they are left with an exposed king. Plus, we are having to castle over here, which has us the upper advantage. But folks, there's another line here. The most popular line, bishop to A5. We're gonna go pawn to D4, the same line. But still folks, if they take, we're gonna have the center back again. And so folks, but what if they don't do that? But instead, what if they don't take the pawn? If they go here solidifying the thing, we're gonna go with the same exact idea. And so folks, this is what this makes this opening very, very strong is that it has a lot of traps. And already we have so much tempo and we are ready to castle. For him, although they're literally just passive, we have the most pawns on the center of the board, trying to get all of the squares on the center of the board. The more you control the board, the more you control the game. And so folks, let's go to the next opening. This is with white. So E4, E5, most common line and most common response. We're gonna go knight to F3 on this one, developing our knight. If they go knight to F6, trying to develop their own knight as well, because of course they attacked their knight because we defended it. And plus, they cannot defend their own pawn because of the fact that they don't need to defend their pawn. And so folks, we're gonna go for the move pawn to F4. If they take our pawn on F4, which the most people in this line will, gonna go here. Pushing the pawn to E5, attacking the knight on F6. They have to go back or else they will blunder the knight because of the fact that these squares are controlled by the knight and the queen, and so they must go back. If they go back, we will go knight to f3, the main line of the Vienna opening. And so, folks, as you can see, we're already up on development, and their knight is on the back rank. In the next move, folks, they will most likely go pawn to d6, trying to challenge our center pawn because it is very, very annoying for them, and they cannot develop their pieces very much with this pawn. But, folks, we're gonna reinforce it. And so if that happens, they will take, we will go here, bishop to b5, and that is a check. They will most likely cover with the pawn. We are gonna go bishop back to f4, escaping from the attack of the pawn on f6. We already are having so much development in this position. And so, folks, if they take our pawn, free pawn on d4. Why? Because we're gonna gambit our knight later on. As you can see, if we take the pawn on f4, which we will likely do if this line happens, they will most likely take this. Because not only that happens, we are gonna go bishop f7. You cannot take the bishop because of course, your queen is gonna get demolished. But if you go here, they think they have won. We're not gonna go bishop here next to them, but instead we're gonna go queen to e2. Because of the fact that if they go bishop here, covering their own king, this is checkmate already. And so, as you can see, all this happening, if they go king d7, that is still checkmate. They don't do that, but instead take the bishop of f7. Well then, folks, we are gonna check the king, and if they go here, the best response, we're gonna go knight to c6, attacking the queen on d8, and also attacking the knight here. If they do take the knight first sight, of course, which is impossible because we're gonna take their king. So instead of doing that, they have to move their king instead, and if they move their king, that's a queen. The best response though is to go here. So folks, we're gonna fork the king and the queen, and we're just gonna win material. So this opening is very, very powerful because of the fact that this Vienna opening doesn't only do this a gambit, but also has the other lines which is more defensively, and we will win completely in that line also. Now, second to the last, we got e4, e5, and then developing both knights, and then with bishop to c4. Now, they got their both knights developed and bishop, and we got our bishop and knight developed. The same with earlier, the Italian game. But we are gonna go for the fried liver this time. But instead of the normal fried liver where you just go knight to g5, we're gonna go for the pawn to d4, which is a maniac move, which is the more buffed version of the fried liver, which is a more advanced version of the fried liver. And not only that, if they do take the free pawn on d4, and if they do take the pawn on d4, which most likely they will, we will go knight to g5, the fried liver. But there's something different. There's pawn over here on d4. And this is what makes it advanced, because after pawn to d5, trying to cover for that fried liver, they knew this line, and so they cover with this. They think that they know it, but we're just gonna take the pawn on d5. If they take the pawn back on d5, we are gonna go castle king to g1, which is a much more peaceful way to approach the fried liver. But it's not really that much calm, because of the fact that we can go rook here, and already their king is under attack. Not only that, we have this threat. And this is almost a fork if this knight wasn't here. And so, folks, what are we gonna approach with this? Well, folks, if they go bishop to e7, we're gonna go pawn takes f7, sacrificing our knight. And if they do take our knight, we will go queen to f3. They're so unfamiliar with this line that they fall for this fork with the king very exposed, not going to castle. While meanwhile, our king is already safe. And if they go here, bishop to f6, trying to defend their king while also trying to protect this pawn, well then, folks, they're already lost. Because we take this free knight on d5, and if they go cover up with the bishop on e6, we'll take it again. And if they take back, we will go and check them again with queen to p3. Instead of developing our pieces, why are we doing this? Because if they cover up with a queen, trying to trade our queens, because so that the aggressiveness can not last. And so, folks, instead of to trade with the queen, we're gonna go aggressively rook to e1. And that is a check to the king on e6. They have to go king to d6. And folks, they already lost because we are already harassing the king while the king is trying to go defensively on this one. And so, folks, we will go pawn to c4, which was a very cunning move. Trying to attack the queen on d5 on passant. We're winning by a lot. We're winning by about 80%. And so, we're gonna take the bishop on e5. Why are we winning this? Because if they take back our bishop on e5, well, folks, this is a pin to the queen and to the king. And not only that, this queen has attack on d5. You cannot take the queen because it's pinned. And so, folks, this is why this opening is very powerful. Sure, you can do this, but your opponent is gonna be demolished and destroyed. So, folks, this is why this opening is very, very effective. It's because that this opening is more of an advanced version of the fried liver. Let's go for the last opening. d4, e5. This is very much different than the last time because this is not only the England Gambit. We're not going for the move bishop to f5 this time. We're instead having this gambit so that we can develop our bishop instead here on d6. And there's a very mysterious trick out here because after knight to f3 and knight to c6, trying to develop our knight, and if they're both knights develop, well then, folks, we will go bishop to g4. And for instance, this gambit is very long term because after they castle, there's something wrong over here. Because we are already having the advantage according to computer. Why? Because if we trade the knight on f3, well then, folks, they will take the bishop back. Because if they don't, they will be losing the material. But, of course, there's another thing that they missed. This bishop is holding a very, very powerful move here. The bishop will take on h2. Check. That's a fork. You're gonna develop your opponents with this one. With this opening and with this tactic. And a lot of people actually fall for this. And we will just take the queen. As you notice, it's fine, right? Everything is equal. No. The computer favors us first. Because first of all, the king is exposed. The rook has moved here, which is very useless. And of course, we're gonna go here a few moves later, trying to harass the exposed king. All of these top 5 openings that I've showed you today, folks, are very useful. And I recommend you to try it. And if you have learned something today, please press the like button. Or maybe even better, subscribe to my channel so that you can motivate me to make more videos like this. And you can also go to my community page, which there you can also write some comments and suggestions about what I'm gonna do on my next video. See you again in the next video, and peace out. Maybe some improvements also in my community. You can comment there. Or maybe here. I don't know. You can comment down in the comment section down below. And not only that, you can go to my Discord server. Or Discord server. Anyway. Anyways, see you again in the next video. Peace out.